Hey guys, welcome back to the Charismatic Nerd. So today we're gonna continue with the Art of War for Life series, but this time we're gonna take a look at how does the Art of War view perfectionism. So before I go any further in this video, the way it's gonna be broken down is that I'm gonna show you the Art of War excerpt, gonna show you some commentary on it, and then gonna give my take. All right, so let's just jump right into it. By reinforcing his vanguard, he weakens his rear. By reinforcing his rear, he weakens his vanguard. By reinforcing his right flank, he weakens his left. By reinforcing his left, he weakens his right. By reinforcing every part, he weakens every part. When I first read that part in the Art of War at 24, it obviously went right over my head. But then reading this again at 32, I still couldn't quite grasp what Sun Tzu was trying to convey in that part. But when I read some commentary in my Art of War edition, it kind of highlighted the whole aspect of perfectionism and its downfall. And I'm going to show you that commentary right now. Giles quotes from Frederick the Great's instruction to his generals. A defensive war is apt to betray us into frequent detachment. Those generals who have had but little experience attempt to protect every point, while those who are better acquainted with their profession, having only the capital object in view, guard against a decisive blow and acquiesce in smaller misfortunes to avoid greater. Alright, now it's time for the Charismatic Nerd's take. So the thing to keep in mind, especially when you're reading this excerpt and that commentary, is that when it comes to perfectionism, one of the issues with that is the fact that you try not to make any mistakes. And the reason why that's a huge problem is the fact that it diverts your time and energy into the wrong things. It's like in the Art of War when you're trying to reinforce this, that. In the end, you're only weakening yourself, because whenever you're engaging with life, whether it's through war, conflict, projects, just whatever, you have to be adaptable and dynamic. Yet, when you're focused on being so technical, so black and white, where you try not to make any mistakes, you think that a mistake equates to failure. Well, in that sense, you're just really sabotaging yourself, because you're going to be way too slow to make any changes. You're just not going to be dynamic. You're not going to really live up to your full potential, because your time and energy is being put into the wrong thing. And this might sound like I'm just, obviously this is my opinion, but it might sound like I'm just blowing smoke, but I want to give a prime example with boxing. So if you look at some of the most elite boxers, I'm talking like Lomachenko and Mayweather, when these guys are in a boxing match, they give up the first few rounds. Mind you, they're not doing it on purpose or whatnot, but they're willing to take a back seat and really not really put out their best foot forward, because they're trying to read their opponent. So as a result, they give up the first few rounds of the match so that they can win the match in the end, because once they have a read on their opponents, it's pretty much game over. You can see that with any of Lomachenko or Mayweather's fight. But imagine if they took the perfectionist route, where every round they had to be perfect, every round they had to win. Well, in that case, it wouldn't give them that advantage of where they could read their opponents, and they could have probably lost a lot more matches. But again, they're a lot more strategic, and they think it on just a whole nother level. So if these elite boxers are willing to lose rounds, why can't we allow ourselves to make mistakes, to learn from it, so that in the long run we're able to win? Does that make sense? So another point I want to take from this excerpt from the Art of War and the commentary is the fact that you need to focus on your main goal. However, you just need to avoid the fatal mistakes. And when that kind of, at least with the commentary, when that kind of ringed in my head, it makes sense. Just avoid the fatal errors and you'll be fine. And when I was taking a look through all the stuff I've read in the past, biographies, history, philosophy, one thing that I noticed was how a lot of these successful figures you see in history, they all made mistakes, period. And they made many of them. However, they didn't make fatal errors. They kept that at an absolute minimum. And obviously I can bring up lots of examples, but I think the best one to bring up are the Romans. The Romans, they lost a number of battles. It's quite well known. However, they ended up winning the war in the long run. And they've done that numerous times. They've done it against Hannibal, they've done it against the Greeks, countless times. So if it was a successful strategy for the Romans, why can't that be a successful strategy for you, where it's okay to make small mistakes as long as you just avoid the fatal ones? And trust me, if you keep that in mind, it makes life a lot more enjoyable, relaxing, chill, because you know that in the end, you're just gonna be fine. And to wrap this video up, I do hope that you see how perfectionism actually just weakens you in the long run, and that it's normal to make mistakes. That's just part of life, and how you view your mistakes will be a big determining factor on how you proceed forward. Will you be okay making small mistakes for the end goal, or will you hold yourself back because you need everything to be perfect? So again, guys, perfectionism is never the way. You know, in the art of war, it really stresses being dynamic, being adaptable, just being so much more than thinking life is very logical or black and white. And you know, and coming from, you know, me being a hardcore nerd, and the fact that I thought way too logically, thought way black and white, and seeing my life when I used to think that way, and then seeing my life now, it's completely different, and it's quite shocking. I'm actually quite embarrassed to know that there was a time in my life where I used to think so logically and try to be a perfectionist, that where in the end I was only hurting myself. But anyways, that's enough talk for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this Art of War video. Please guys, don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my newsletter, and guys, remember, you're not just any type of nerd, you're a charismatic nerd.